Greetings, Israel, Judah. It's your brother DFG. Hey, my brothers and sisters. I want to take a little time today, the 2nd of May, to bring to your attention some things that our Father, Abba Yah, has placed upon, my heart, as he continues to open up my mouths and the mouths of other messengers, to give warning to our people that it's time for them to take heed to his Torah and turn back to the true faith, to the true Elohim, the one sovereign Elohim, Yahuwah. So I ask that you give me a little bit of your time tonight, depending on when you're listening to this message, and just, listen to it intensively and just reflect upon it. Again, when the word comes forward from a messenger, watchman, it is never with, I guess you would say, balls and chains. The word it doesn't come with balls and chains. The word does not come to enslave you. Abba Yah sends his word to either free you, give you something to reflect upon, or give you the ultimate choice to reject it. Those are typically the three options that every last one of us have. Those are the options that you have. So it should never be some form of oppression or some form of suppression when you're listening and hearing Abba Yah's word. Regardless of what you might believe, regardless of what we might agree on or disagree upon, only a fool will walk away when the word of Abba Yah is being mentioned. Only a fool. And I say that with a sense of clarity that's beyond my ability to explain. Because if you don't believe that there's an Elohim, then according to the book, and I'm just going to say according to the book, you are a fool. You're just foolish. You might as well say you believe in nothing then. Because the creator of everything is that you experience, is allow you to have the experience. And when you say you don't believe in Elohim, then really what you're saying is you don't even believe in your own human experience. We call it life. So when the book says only a fool says in his heart there is no Elohim, or a fool rejects knowledge, then whenever you hear the word and you're not a fool, then you should at least be willing to humble your own self. You're not humbling yourself for another man. You're not humbling yourself for some woman. You're surely not humbling yourself for DFG. But you need to remember there's a time that you ought to humble yourself for yourself, brothers and sisters. Just so that you can take in information, process that information, and then make your very best decision with that information. And, we can go over to the book of Proverbs, chapter 1, and talks about those who won't consider. When knowledge is available, they reject the knowledge. Never explaining why, or if they give us reason for rejecting that knowledge, many people, it has something to do with something that has something to do with nothing. Because obvious, whatever it was, you're still here. So you were able to overcome it. Regardless of the circumstances you may be dealing with, you're still here. And if you want to change that circumstance, what would make any of us think that we can change the circumstance? And this is the elder in me talking right now. What would make any of us think we can change the circumstance by doing absolutely nothing about the conditions? And how do you do something about the conditions without information? And what good is information if there's no understanding that goes along with the information that you have? Even our book tells us, knowledge without wisdom is vanity, is worthless. Which simply means you got a lot of information, but you have no true definitive application for which to apply that information. Outside of biases and, prejudices and past experiences in most situations. There are always those outlying and anomalous anomalies that, of course, maybe this wouldn't, apply 100%. but in principle, it applies to all of us. We should always be open to getting knowledge, and the only way we can get knowledge and an understanding, we have to be willing to humble ourselves. You know, today's message is going to be centered around people who didn't use the best knowledge and cause mayhem upon themselves, and then people who learned from knowledge and learned from and took that information and added wisdom to it, and when the same event came towards them, they were able to overcome it. When you go and look at Joshua chapter 6, you know, it talks about the whole experience with Noah, telling the people of his time, 120 years I've talked to you guys. 120 years I pleaded with you guys. 120 years I told you this event was coming. 120 years you saw all kinds of signs and indicators that something was wrong. But you didn't listen. And now when the shit has hit the fan, you're coming back to the man who's been warning you, and now you want to persuade him to have compassion on you. But he can't, because Abba Yah won't allow him to. So therefore he has no choice but to tell you, sorry, too late. And that's what happens to any of us, brothers and sisters, when we allow arrogance, puffed upness, high-mindedness, past experience, current experience, hurts, pains, biases, ignorance, lack of knowledge, to become our compass for which we live our lives. That is almost a guaranteed recipe for disaster when we take that mentality. But when we are humble and open-minded and have a heart for information and have a heart for knowledge, the unimaginable becomes accessible. It becomes possible. But that works both ways. Because the unimaginable, that can become your possibilities and it cause you to superachieve. The same unimaginable, if you reject the knowledge of the time you're in, could become your death certificate. In other words, it can become your tombstone. Sherry was here. Now she's gone. She left her children to carry on. But they lost too. And they will repeat Sherry's, unfortunately, pathway without help, without guidance, if they be arrogant and they reject knowledge. We're in a time right now, brothers and sisters, of major crisis. You know, a couple of things I was listening to earlier today, and I won't get into the details of it because that would be a 5-hour message. But you know, there's a network, and this is for those of my brothers and sisters who are interested in kind of getting a broader perspective of what's happening globally as it relates to the West, to the Western nations. I think they call them the 5 I's: Australia, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Canada, and North America, or United States of America. I think they call them the 5 I's. Sure, there's something going on with that. And they were saying how now that the 5 I's are now, for the most part, reaping what they're sowing. The chickens are coming home to roost. And this network is called the C as in cabbage, G as in green, T as in 10, and N as in Nancy. But it's called the CGTN network. And what it is, it's the China Global Television Network. And there were 2 particular presentations that I would encourage my brothers and sisters, if time permits, you know, maybe you turn off, you know, TikTok. Okay, I'm playing. But if time permits, that you would take and give a listen. And these are the 2 episodes. I wrote them down. The first one, and the program is called Dialogue, communication, talking, right? So they're interviewing one of the first interview, they're interviewing the president of Zambia. And he's giving his perspective on America. He's giving his perspective upon mass incarceration of Israelites, you know, in America. And I do say mass incarceration of Israelites because he has the foresight or the understanding to know that although the Israelites represent the minority in America, when you look at its jails, its prison industry complex, we are the majority in those prisons. And that's both men and women of Israel. We're the minority in America, but in America's prisons, we're the vast majority. And he gives a brief history of everything from, the enslavement of the people, the Atlantic slave transfer, Atlantic slave, atrocity. It goes on to talk about, Jim Crow, even goes as current, this president of George Floyd and some of those other issues. The vast poverty, how America has exploited the labor of the poor in this country and how the rich has enriched themselves and more or less built themselves a house of cards. And I'm not to play with, but in other words, their infrastructure is falling apart right in front of them because they were all about predatory gain. That's why their symbol, the bird, the eagle, is the bird of death. Because what is an eagle? Eagle is a high top, of a food chain predator. It does no work, doesn't add anything to anything. It just takes. Very selfish. How ironic that would be the bird of this country and most of those Five Eyed countries that are mentioned there. But the name of that video is How Much Chaos Has the U.S. Brought to the World in the Name of Human Rights? Okay? And then the second one, it's a second video that I think you would find very interesting. And this is from a Westerner, George Galloway. And if you know who George Galloway is, he was in the Parliament of Britain for about 30 years or more. I think for a short time, if he wasn't prime minister, he was up to be the prime minister over there. A wiry cat for sure. Definitely, heathen that, when he was eating it, from when he was eating from us, he had not a whole lot to say. But then when this table of foods got short, then all of a sudden, you know how they are. They'll turn on each other. And now he's ratting, he's ratting on them. He's telling on them now. Now he wants to go from, now the villain wants to put on his sheep's clothing now. But what he has to say is pretty interesting. So I would say to listen to it, because one of the few times you're going to hear the heathens tell truth, even when they too ignorant enough to realize that the truth he's telling is really exposing them too. But hey, this is the time of revealing, brothers and sisters. This is a time where Yahuwah said whatever was hidden in the dark, he would bring to the light. And so Abba Yah, if he can use a jackass with Balaam to talk, surely he can use a jackass like, George Calloway to spill the beans on his kind. So it's a good listen. And the name of that one is How Should We Re-Examine Democracies in the West? That would be the name of it. How should we re-examine democracies in the West? Okay, brothers and sisters, and you can always go to the transcripts, because sometimes you'd be like, well, Brother DFG, how are we going to remember that? Well, you should never come here without a sword and a saw and a hammer, first of all. But in addition to that, go to the transcripts and you can find out, everything that your brother is speaking about. It's going to give you a number or a minute, everything is timed in the transcript. And then you find this particular time around a minute, you're looking at minute 10 to 14. Minutes 10 through 14 for this particular, and that way you can, freeze it, get that information, and then when you have some additional time, brothers and sisters, give it a listen. When we were told all our getting what? Get an understanding. See, intelligent people want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. And in these days of evil and darkness, let's not be, like the heathens were in Noah's day. For 120 years, he was trying to warn them. He's saying, look at the signs. Look at what's happening all around you. Can't you see is Abba Yah talking to you? Can't you tell he's the one that's creating all the turmoil? Can't you tell he's the one that's creating the floods, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the earthquakes, all these so-called natural disasters that men say use the word natural disaster to take away from the authority of Abba Yah Elohim. They are clever. Because when they say natural disaster, it just means, well, it's things just happen. There's no real explanation for them. It's a part of life. It's a part of the living. No, they're lying. The natural disasters are the thing they call natural disasters, brothers and sisters. It's the hand of Abba Yah trying to wake up Israel and these heathens across this flat earth. So when you hear them use their little clever words like natural disaster, brothers and sisters, I'll say it again. Now, see, when they want to inject Mother Nature, Mother, like Mother God, the eagle again, the Mother God, or Arden, again, the God of death, the bird, the dead bird, the battlefield bird, the bird that eat the dead. Then all of a sudden, they'll use it. But I'm saying to all of us who are sitting and are standing or listening, driving, wherever you may be, whatever you are doing, brothers and sisters, when you start hearing the word natural disaster, just say no. Abba Yah, Yahuwah, is judging. And if he's judging, that means he's warning. And if I'm wise, that means I am going to listen and I'm going to take refuge. Now, by the grace of Abba Yah, he's given us what I would call almost and I'm going to use this word, but I'm going to use it carefully, to look into the future, like in looking into like a, when we were kids, remember they had the wicked witches or whatever they were. They were looking to these globes or these magic balls. I forgot what they called them, what they were calling them as a kid, and they could look into the future to be able to tell what was coming. Well, do you know, brothers and sisters, that was stolen? I'm talking about that the concept of looking into this ball or this globe to be able to see what was coming. That was stolen, brothers and sisters. That was stolen right from our Tanakh, right from our Apocrypha books. And here's why I say that. Our Apocrypha book, our Torah, brothers and sisters, although we were taught that they did not matter anymore, that they were done away with if you were in these religions, at least in Christianity religions mostly, or religions that came out of Christianity, which most did, but the mainstream Christian religions, Protestants, Baptists, Judaism, those times, you would saw they would have told you it's done away with, not Judaism, but all the rest of them. Oh, that's done away with. Yeah, you can go over there, just for precept. You can go over there, just to back it up, but you don't really need that. All you need is the New Testament now. Because see, they knew the New Testament caused you to become brain dead. It caused you to focus on a dead man or dead men that really had no power outside of power that was given to them according to those men by the Holy Ghost. Whatever the hell that means. That trust them in their writings, their letters, epistle letters. That most of them, although the people who are credited to have spoken these letters are typically not the people who authored these letters. Do some history. Do some research on that. But this message is not about that. But this message is about, they turned you away from the global ball or the future ball, the ball of the globe, which was the Tanakh and the Torah and the Apocrypha book. Because guess what, my brothers and sisters? These books were left here for us to not only see in the past, but these books were written for us to actually see into the future. They will allow these books, the Torah, Tanakh, and Apocryphas, allow us to know what's coming. Many of the writings here were written thousands of years ago, and those events are happening right now, today. But most of our people don't know that. Unfortunately, a lot of you don't know that because you trusted the heathens and their religions. And they told you didn't need all of that. Just go to church on whatever day they had known it, the Sabbath day, Now the Sabbath day is Wednesday and Thursday and every day, according to somebody out there. But according to our book, the Shabbat should be holy and kept holy. And there were things and laws upon that Shabbat day that you could not do any other day. It's a set apart day. So unless your whole life is going to be sitting around doing absolutely nothing, then obviously, that's not going to be very productive for you. But we have a Shabbat day. But there are many other things in that book that tells us, I don't want to digress there, but there tells us about what has happened in the past, like what happened in the days of Noah. What's happening in the past as it would happen in the days of Lot and Abraham. What happened, in the days of Judah Maccabees, I'm sorry, to warn us of how the heathens would respond when their crisis came, when their days of trouble come. You've heard me say it before. When America catches a cold, we get, Israel gets a pneumonia, or maybe the best word, the way they said, the rest of the world is in danger of getting pneumonia. But since we live here in America amongst some of the most vicious of the Edomites, some of the most vicious. I mean, this is the only nation that can boast that they dropped nuclear bombs on someone. Men, women, and children. Thousands and thousands of miles away that had never, ever attacked this country. Or they attacked it, what was so-called a territory, Hawaii. But Hawaii was not a state. And if you really knew the history behind that, you would know that Japanese were provoked into that. They didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what, let's go pick a fight with America. It didn't happen like that. And I know some of you are hearing this for the first time. But do your research. What did Hosea, Hosea said, our Yah people perish for a lack of knowledge. Hosea 4 and 6. We are destroyed because of lack of knowledge, because unfortunately we depend on somebody else. Now, there's nothing wrong with hearing what we say, but that's why I always tell my brothers, cross-reference, precept. Yeah, the watchmen and watch, that your elders are here to warn you and tell you, but you don't just stop there. You go behind and you search it out. You validate, trust, but verify. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not being disobedient because Brother DFG says, your pastor says something to you, and then you went back to research what he said. That just makes you wise. That just makes you intelligent, and it makes you hard to be misled. And because we haven't done that, that's why so many of our people still today are in Christianity. Or in these other foreign religions, the religions, of the foreigners. Professing to be wise, they became fools. And why I say fools? Because they thought they were serving the one true Elohim, only to find out they were serving themselves, or they were serving the gods of this world. The heathen gods. That we were warned in Jeremiah chapter 10, not to practice their ways. You go over to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter, 15. And there's some information about that, about when you talk about dietary laws, eating clean, unclean foods, and about how that we don't, there's a process, there's a way of doing things for Israel to keep us healthy, to keep us strong, so that we are not in a forbidden way before Abba Yah. So we don't find ourselves in a forbidden way before our Creator. But except you research except you study these things out, how can you know? Things are too dangerous for us just to be taking people's word for it, brothers and sisters. Search it out. So when you look at what actually happened in something like, the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, was nothing surprising about that. That was provoked. They were doing all embargoes against Japan, and Japan was in the thick of the war. With Europe. They were in the thick of it. And what the United States were doing in support of England was they were using their warships to cut off the oil supplies or the oil cargo ships that Japan needed to bring resources to their troops that were fighting abroad. And because America got in the way and cut off their trade rights or their transportation routes, they did their best to eliminate, the warships that were out near their country in Hawaii so that they could continue to fight for what they believe was their own independence and right to defend their country. Now, I'm not taking up for no heathens over there talking about those Moabites. That's not what your brother is saying. What I'm really saying back to Abba Yah's people is that we need to, before we just start taking people's word for things, we need to research the thing out. We need to also come back to, again, how to be intelligent, how to understand what we have in our possession. The thing that they envy the most, we bloodline built into it. And that is a relationship with the one and only Creator. They envy that. They've gone over the whole world slaughtering and killing because they didn't have that, and to push their gods to eliminate wherever we were. And I did this. I don't mean in the sign of a cross. I just mean up, down, horizontal and vertical and horizontal is what I mean. Just so you know what I'm doing here. Wherever they could go, to the skies or to the seas, to destroy truth, they will do. And in the process, everything that's living, that's in the sky, seas, and land. Because they are the people of the bird, the predator, the high predator. But Abba Yah is waking us up, brothers and sisters. And he's waking us up through his truth, through his Torah, through his Tanakh, through his Apocryphal books, so that we can see what it is to come, so that we can prepare ourselves for it and not get caught in a situation like they did in the times of Noah. Hearing the truth, but too busy at play to take heed to it until it was far too late and the story ended tragically. And history is repeating itself. And if you were studying the book or with groups, like-minded men and women who studied the truth, not over there again looking at fictional books, they're left behind books or fictional stories that they created fictional books to support. They're left behind series. And all that was created because of envy against us, envy against who we were, and most importantly, envy against Abba Yah. But he has left a crystal ball. Finally got that word. He has left a crystal ball right in front of us for us to be able to not only know what has happened, for not only to keep us aware of what's going on, but also to project out thousands of years in the future to see what's coming next. And brothers and sisters, for those among us, the 2/3 of us, who are still struggling with this truth, a day will come, if you're still above ground, if you're still amongst the living, as they say, that day is going to come that you're going to stop and say, I wish I had listened to my sister. I'm not talking about your sister, I'm talking about your blood sister. I wish I had listened to Sister Smith, my sister, or Sister Haddon, my cousin, or brother, Blackman, my nephew or my uncle. Brother Mendez, my son. But it's going to be too late for some if you don't wake up and understand that, this book is telling us what is to come. This is the most powerful. I'm talking about the Tanakh, the Apocryphal books, the Torah, which helps us to stay safe. It's that ring of fire around us that keeps us in one with Abba Yah. It's the most powerful entity that ever existed or ever will exist, because it is the word of the creator of everything, which makes it the most powerful of anything. And yet our people, we'll run over to Lizzo to see, how much more she gonna shake her big, fat, stanky, wicked ass to push an agenda that our Bible book clearly tells us is wicked. Go to look at Leviticus 18 and 13. 18 and 11. And then Leviticus 20 and 13. And see what it says about homosexuality. See what the book calls it. Yes, she celebrated. And anyone else who are pushing any of that wickedness. We get called evil for telling the truth. They get celebrated for preaching abominable lies. But that's okay. We're here and we're not going to shut up. A couple of other things real quick, brothers and sisters. Still talking on a global, but the book is global. Never let anybody tell you your book is a religious artifact. That's a damn lie. And I know, with DFG, calm down. I'm not going to calm down when you lie on Abba Yah's truth. This damn book is not an artifact. It is life. Whether you want to accept it or not, you're in it. Even though wicked heathens are in it. And if it tells what's coming to every single one of us, without exception, whether you believe or not, does not matter. You sound like a grasshopper telling, a lawn caregiver, hey, watch out, you're going to hit me with one of them blades. Not going to pay much attention to you. Matter of fact, he won't even notice you at all. But you're looking at the banking thing, and we've been warning. If you've been following this channel, we've been talking about get your resources out the bank for a long time. Leaving the bank only what you need, or leaving the bank only what you need to utilize, for your day-to-day business. You follow me? And things that you see that are extremely important. And then you take the rest of it, and you either, if you can't, turn it into something that's tradable, like food, or gold, or silver. Then you hold on to it and put it away. And maybe there'll be a time, what if it loses value? Well, then if it loses value, it's already too late for pretty much everybody anyway. When it's totally useless. Brother, that's coming real soon with FedNet and all that. Okay. Well, America gonna have something to say about the dollar going away. Trust your brother on that. So for all that negotiating, bringing America to the table that you're gonna hear people talking about, and bringing up America's sins, as you're gonna hear them talk about, I can assure you they still gonna have to deal, with America. Because America only knows one way to negotiate, brothers and sisters, and that is through the barrel of a gun. And I can assure you, America is soon to come to the negotiating table. Go to your table too. You'll find that out in Maccabees. Yeah, they're coming to your table too to negotiate. When they run out, they're going to come and see what you got. That's history of that in this country. They're not going to forget about you with your little chocolate melanated self or your vanilla melanated self. They're not going to forget about you. They'll come see about you. Give them time. Again, that's why you need to be putting things in play, plans in play now, brothers and sisters. With your kind. At least to those who are like-minded of your kind. And when I say like-minded, tested, battle tested, validated, consistent behavior, tried through the fire, willing to prove out to you that they're willing to do what is necessary to show themselves, strong in Elohim, so Elohim can show himself strong in them, so they can qualify to be amongst the 1/3 of us. But that to say, America now has faced a situation where another bank has closed. The Republic Bank. Street since March. Big banks failing. $100 billion gone out of the last bank. Well, it just disappeared. They had to run on the banks. Disappeared into where? If it wasn't valuable, it wouldn't have disappeared, would it have? Would it have? It has its place. It has its value. So all I'm saying to you, utilize it, but don't let it stay there, because that's where they're robbing it from. Jesse James, Frank James, they're back on the problem. Well, they never really went anywhere. They were called their new name was the Federal Reserve. And then the last thing, you called ESPN the other day. They claim that they put in a health company commercial video that showed the Twin Towers. Now that happened, 22 years ago now, give or take? Somehow or another, they mixed up a video or archive video with current video, and they show this on national television with the Twin Towers sitting in the back, knowing that that's a monument to something. What do you say, a global reset? You might be getting close to something right on that. But we also know thousands of lives were lost. But according to them, without the shedding of blood, there's no remission, right? For their sins. That's how they operate. Gotta have that blood. But they're dog whistling is what I'm saying. That's a signal to them. To warn them. Or better yet, to tell them, they're about ready to do whatever it is they got to do. And unfortunately, most of us brothers and sisters, does not include us. And that's why if you're among them and you're in the middle with them and your life dependency ties exclusively upon them, it's time to break that yoke, break that connection. Again, these are people who have built a nation on oppression of other people all over this flat earth. And they can't negotiate with any other nation because they don't have anything to negotiate with. Well, they can always put us back in chains. Well, all of us back in chains. Many of us are still in chains. It's called the prison industry complex. From plantation to the sharecropping fields to the penitentiary that we call prisons. Nothing has really changed. But sooner than many of our people might understand and know, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 65, 66, 67, 68, about to repeat itself. Oh, and Deuteronomy 28, 53 too, I might add. You might want to add that in your little collection when you're doing your research. What is Deuteronomy 28 and 53 talking about? You might want to take a peek over there. And when they start talking about eating the fruit of the land, they're not talking about apples and oranges. That's a hint. And I want you to give you, so you get you closer to that hint, think about what I talked about is their signature predator bird. And what does that bird eat? I think that's enough about that. If you're trying, you're making any kind of attempt to understand what your brother is saying, then you already have figured it out. But again, don't take my word for it. Research it. Go back and look at, Deuteronomy 15. Go back and look at Leviticus, 20 and 13, Leviticus 18 and 11. Let me be sure about Leviticus 18 and 11. That's Torah, by the way, brothers and sisters. That's where we should be spending most of our time. Studying it, understanding it, walking it out. The Torah, I mean. All right, praise Yahuwah. Is actually Leviticus 18 and 22. All right? I could read it, but, if you want to know what you're about talking about, you read it. Just tie in Lizzo and all this other stuff that that you see going on, these agendas that they're pushing in these schools upon our children. And ask yourself the question, if what the word says is true, and that's what they're teaching our children, using the adults to push it, then what that say about this nation? What that say about a nation who's trying to get the rest of the world to do it? What does that tell you about these people? Those who have these people in their families and they're afraid to confront it with their family members. I don't want to say nothing because that's my son. And just to add, a precept to go along with it, you got Leviticus 18 and 22, and then I want you to go to Leviticus 20 and chapter 20 and verse 13, and you read that. And if Abiyah, or what it says about Abiyah in the book of Malachi, right? Malachi? I'm pronouncing that right? Malachi. What does Malachi say in that? You just read those two, or at least you will, and when you get a chance, right? I know you will. Take a look at it. I know one of my sisters was saying, well, brother, you don't have to turn all the pages. Just give them the verse in scripture. If they care, they'll look it up. I know you're right, dear sister, but, what can I say? I just got to let the rules lead me and let the Father lead me and just, and I'm sure someone needs it the way your brother is giving it. Because they need to get used to turning the pages in their book. That way it wouldn't be so easy to lead us astray if we get used to this. Trying to write by it every time. That's why I couldn't miss it. Such a small chapter. But it reads right here, real easy. Malachi chapter 3, verse 6. This is what it says. Now, I want you to think of what we just looked at in the Torah. Talking about Leviticus 18 and 22, Leviticus 20 and 13. All right? And for these are people who want to say what matters and what doesn't matter. But this is why that looking glass, that crystal ball, our Torah, Tanakh, disciple books are so important. But look what it says here. And you got to remember, brothers and sisters, this is the Creator saying this. He says, for I am Yahuwah, I change not. And because I don't change, that's the reason why y'all not destroyed. That's why we're still here, the Israelites, wherever we are on this flat earth. He says the only reason why y'all still here is because I change not. Because the next sentence in that says, therefore you sons of Jacob are not consumed. So they're telling you to move away from something that if you really moved away, or even worse, if Abba Yah moved away, we would be consumed. All of us would be destroyed. None of us would be saved. But that is the propaganda that they have their churches and their religions pushing every day. And many on these platforms who will tell you that New Testament salvation best practices are superseding Abba Yah's sovereignty. Lying, but with a straight face and a soft voice, or a masculine voice, husky voice. He doesn't change. He's sovereign. Well, let's go back over to Deuteronomy. This is where your brother back to the Torah. I was Tanakh. Let's go to the Torah again. Get used to it. Go to the book of Exodus. Go to Exodus 22. Verse 20. He that sacrifices to any other Elohim, that means if you're believing in any other god or goddess of any kind, human, superhuman, spiritual, resurrected, come back from the dead, once was, any other Elohim, save Yahuwah. He said, I'm going to destroy you. And that's why Malachi 3 and 6 say that, so that you don't be consumed. We serve Yahuwah only in his word. And the only way we know how to do that is that crystal ball called the Tanakh, the Torah. And the Apocrypha books, the so-called sealed or hidden books, that were totally off limits to our people. Why? To keep us serving their Elohims, as it said right here, for us not to do. And if you think he doesn't mean it, take a look at Leviticus, just turn over one page. It says this, Leviticus chapter 20, verse 5, for those who think he doesn't mean what he says. He says, you shall not bow down yourself to them, or nor serve them, talking about their other Elohims, or anything. Matter of fact, let me go on, let's go all the way let's go to verse 20, and then read down to verse 5. From chapter 20, the Exodus chapter 20, let's read from verse 1 down to verse 5. And Elohim spoke these words, saying, I am Yahuwah Almighty, which has brought you out of the land of your captivity, out of the house of slavery, your bondage. You shall have no other Elohims before me. That means you don't bring them around him. You don't compare him you don't compare them to him. Somebody says, don't you bring that before me. They're telling you, don't you come near me with that. You shall not make unto you any graven image. Now think about these key words. You shall not make any. Make nothing. Make, M-A-K-E, make nothing. None. Zero. No other. Nothing. No trinkets, no beads, no cross, no stars, no fish, nothing. Nothing, brothers and sisters. You make nothing, is what he's telling us. You shall not make unto you any graven image or any likeness. That means the ego included. Fish included. A man included. A woman as well included. And to make sure we clearly understand what he's saying here, brothers and sisters, he says, you shall not make unto yourself, you, me, us, unto you any graven image. And he's talking about Israel. He's not talking about the heathens and the strangers. But if they're serving their gods or they're making their gods, they are not allowed to come among us. But this is strictly for Israel. He says, you shall not make unto you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. So that pretty much covers everything. But do you realize that a lot of us were in churches where they had graven images? You know why? Because those are heathen churches. That's why you saw pictures of so-called Jesus and Abraham and Moses. That's why you saw, the so-called Star of David, which really isn't, because David had no star. That's really Solomon's star, and that's really not Solomon's star, except when Solomon went into witchcraft and sorcery. So it's of the devils. But you'll go into the heathen churches, and you see all these things that he said should not exist. But what do many of our people still find themselves today, brothers and sisters? In those same churches, synagogues, temples, and mosques where those things are. Never realizing that we are cursed in there. We're being judged every single second that we're in there. And you're wondering why your prayers go on deaf ears, or your prayers seem to go up, but then they come right back down. We pray up and he pray down. I think it's just like it sounds stupid. Anything Elohim puts his hand to is permanent. If Elohim heals your body's staying healed. He's not going to heal you of breast cancer, and then, you go around, he healed my body. And then 2 years later, how you doing, sister? Well, that cancer came back. But I guess it was the Lord's will. I don't know why you want to rely on Elohim. Maybe because it was the other God that gave you temporary healing so that it could get your mind off of the truth, so that you could go around selling their, lies. But Abba Yah is not to be, shamed. Not going to rely on Elohim and get away with it, brothers and sisters. All those liars out there who are lying, saying, thus says Elohim, and that's not true. Elohim said, I'm going to come back on them. I haven't forgotten them. That's in the book of Deuteronomy. That's in our Torah. He said, no, I'll be back. That's just a temporary reprieve they're getting. I heard them. But see, when that cancer come back, I'm going to make it go through their whole body. The line saying, I healed them when you're in here practicing paganism. Worshipping heathen gods, when I told you clearly not to bow down yourself unto them. That's verse 5. And if you think he doesn't mean what he says, and we've already read that in Malachi 3 and 6 that he doesn't change, but if you think he doesn't mean what he says, let me give you some help here. I am Yahuwah Almighty, and I am a jealous Elohim. And I will visit wickedness upon the fathers of the children, and unto the children of the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. He's saying, if you're doing these things, if you're anywhere where you got idolatry, things made, let's look at it again. The likeness of anything made that's made in heaven, anything that's made like something on this earth, anything that's made like up under the earth or under the water, anything that looks like, what else he says here? That's a graven image. That's made with the hands of men, wood, stone. He says anybody doing anything like that or being a part of anything like that, he says clearly here, that you're telling him you hate him. So you got all these people talking about, oh, I love the Lord. I love Yahuwah. Oh, I love. Then why are you in there with all this stuff he said you're not supposed to be in? Why are you practicing, and teaching and learning using all those prompts that he said you're not supposed to be using? Made with the hands of men, likeness of things made on the earth. That's prompts. That's all their little prompts. It's all their little mechanism they use. That all their little, getting there. I'm going to grab this little thing here, and I'm going to come over and I'm going to put this with that. And that's not even now on that platform. Most of the stuff they're teaching on these platforms, they're reading documents from heathens. So if you're taking books that men wrote, and you're comparing that with Abba Yah's truth, That's not heathenism. That's not something made on the earth. Let's read that again. Exodus chapter 20, verse 4. You shall not make unto you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or under the water on the earth. So simply meaning using, their little, tools and their little props to try to bring validation to Abba Yah. Abba Yah gave us a Torah. He gave us the Tanakh. He gave us the Apocryphal book. He gave us watchmen, and he gave us elders. He gave us elder women. That's not enough for you? So you can't trust his guidance if he called you to teach? To just utilize what he has supplied? I wonder why. Is it because you're not studied? Or because you were bored? You had nothing better to do with your time? So you got an idea, from your sister or your friend or your pastor to start a Bible study group maybe? Oh no, just start a platform. Go on YouTube and you can start a platform. And Abba Yah say he's going to take, if that applies to anybody, Abba Yah say he's going to tear them to pieces if you're doing it any other way other than he says to do it. This is for our health and wellness, brothers and sisters. The word is for our health and wellness. The Torah is for our health and wellness. The Tanakh is for our health and wellness. The Apocryphal books are for our health and wellness. The leaders of Israel are here for our health and wellness if they are obedient to Abba Yah's word. That's his fitness plan for us, his wellness plan for us. So do you love Abba Yah? Because if you love him, you're not going to do any of those things that I just read. And if you're in any places where those things were being done, again, do you love Abba Yah? Do you love him? Do you love him? Because see, if you love Abba Yah, you're going to obey Abba Yah. That means you're going to keep his commandments. You're not going to have any other Elohims around you. You're not going to be praying to somebody. You're not going to bow down to Jesus or Buddha or Krishna or no one. You're not going to pray to some other God or God-like, a son of God, brother of God, mother of God, father of God, which makes no sense, by the way. But like they say, if you want somebody to believe the lie, make it big, repeat it over and over, and the people will listen. And this is the biggest lie you ever heard, talking about that Elohim needed someone to come out and do what he couldn't do for himself. And somehow has a mother. A mother that, quite frankly, was betrothed to a man. I heard a younger brother say this, and I know he won't mind me using this, but he said, how ridiculous does that sound? Our laws say if a woman is betrothed to a man, she's off limits. Was not Mary betrothed to Joseph? So if Mary was betrothed to Joseph, why would the so-called Holy Spirit go into a woman who was already betrothed to another man? He couldn't find a woman who was a virgin and not betrothed to anybody? So he had to go steal another man's woman? That's the Elohim? Yet he says over in our book, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. If she betrothed to you, she's your wife to be. So why would he violate his own commandment in doing that when he could have went to any other woman that did not have, that wasn't betrothed to anybody? You think Mary was the only woman out there who wasn't married? Or had not taken her marriage vows? He couldn't find some other woman out there somewhere who was still a virgin still in her father's house, not endowed to any man. He couldn't do that. But because we don't step back sometimes, brothers and sisters, and really reflect on it, and then we take these people at their word. We take what they wrote at their words, and then we run right along with it until somebody come back and say, "Did you really think about that? Did you really give that any thought about what you're doing? Have you really considered who you're listening to? I mean, honestly, consider what they're saying. Not necessarily talking about not to listen. I'm talking about listen to who you're listening to and what they're saying." The story of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus makes no sense. Now, if you're going to put Abba Yah Elohim in it, because he would have violated every commandment he ever gave to us. You don't think that Joseph and Mary, if that's what their names were, you don't think they were Torah keepers? If they weren't Torah keepers, he wouldn't have hid her. He hid her because he knew that if somebody had found out she got pregnant by somebody else other than him, she could be stoned to death. So they were definitely Torah keepers. So if Abba Yah would have done that, he would have violated the Torah. And why would he violate his own Torah, his own word? It wasn't necessary at all. But it's the line that we were sold. And it's a line that many of our people to this very moment, even those who will hear what I just shared. And little brother, just so you know who I'm talking about you. You know, you a little while back, a couple of months ago, you had did a message that I was talking about with Terry Nichols. And how that was a sacrifice, and that was not what the people thought it was. I'm saying there was all kind of indicators around it. I heard you talking about it, my brother. I just can't think of your name right now, but, I will tell you, some of the things I'm listening to what you're saying, you got my respect about that. Stay the course. But that being said, brothers, I want to share something else with you, my brothers and sisters. Look over here, Deuteronomy 18. Because this is important when it comes down to who we're listening to. All right, we really need to be thinking about this. I mean, if you look at Deuteronomy 17 and 15, it says, well, you shall in no way, you shall in any wise set a king over you. No, when they say any wise, that means no way possible, under any circumstances, do you put a heathen over you. You give a heathen authority over you and the things of Abba Yah in your personhood. Zero. You never do it. You don't marry them. You don't make no covenants with them. Nothing. So you shall in no wise set a king over you, whom you shall in any wise set a king over you, whom Yahuwah Elohim shall choose. I'm sorry, I said that in reverse. In other words, he said that only the ones who Elohim would set on you and nobody else. And these are the ones he will set above you. He said, you may not set a stranger over you, which is not your brother. But he shall not, okay, and he goes on talking about multiply. So he said, you shall not set a stranger over you. You should set one from you from among your brethren, not a stranger. I'm getting ahead of myself, brothers and sisters, because I'm so anxious to get over here to 18. So let me say it one more time with some clarity here. My apologies. I'm getting too ramped up. He says, you shall in any wise set him king over you. He said, you shall set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Or I will set a king over me, like all the nations that are about me. Verse 15, you shall in any wise set him king over you, whom Yahuwah shall choose. One from among your brethren shall be your king, or have rulership or leadership over us in the things of Abba Yah. And that includes our physical bodies, because our bodies are his. But let's jump over here to verse to Deuteronomy chapter 18. And I want to start reading right here at 18. Deuteronomy 18 and 18. He says, I will rise them up a prophet from amongst their brethren, like unto you, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto the words which he shall speak in my name, I will require of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak any word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other Elohim, even that prophet shall be put to death. So anybody that's telling us to believe in Jesus or any other person to put, to pray to, or to put them in any kind of similitude of Elohim, a God-like status, a status above man, he said, anybody teaching you that, brothers and sisters, Abba Yah said he's going to put them to death. That's an automatic death sentence on them. That's why they had us over there in all of their different religions. That's why they have many of us over there, because those are the dungeons, those are the temples of doom, those are the temples of abomination, which means they are the temples of death. I mean, anybody teaching you to serve those gods, Yahushua, Buddha, any of them, are leading you unto your damnation, brothers and sisters. That's what you hear your brother reading right here. He's a jealous El, not sharing his authority with anybody, saying if you do try to pray or bow down to anybody, you're going to get destroyed. And if anybody's telling you to do it, he's going to destroy them. Oh, yeah. But if you go back to Ezekiel, he says that he's going to get, not only is he going to get the prophet, he's going to get you that follow that prophet. The prophet is just another word for messenger. When somebody says the prophet, a lot of times somebody says the prophet, first thing we start doing is wanting to bow down. You don't bow down to no man, brothers and sisters. You give honor to who honor is due, but you don't bow down to no man or woman. A prophet is just another way of that's the messenger. That's a leader amongst Israel who bring forth Abba Yah's word to Abba Yah's people. The things that Abba Yah wants the people to know. That's what a prophet is. Nothing more, nothing less. They're not to be worshipped or idolized. They're to be respected and honored to the degree that their word is being validated, that you can validate what they said is truth. And that's why you need to have line upon line, precept on precept, cross references. Study it out. So you can say, yes, okay, all right, I agree. Why do I agree? Not necessarily because you're right. I agree because what you're teaching is correct. Clarity purposes. Look at this. These are back to these same prophets. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him. And there are prophets out there who are saying, Abba Yah called them, I'm a prophetess. And he did not. They're false teachers. Just because they say they're one, brother, does not make them one. Most of them will say something and then they go back and try to find an old video. See right here, see. Abba Yah don't need your old videos to validate his truth. Your word's supposed to be the truth. The very words you're saying should be your truth. You don't need to go back in your archives. How about just showing them in the book where it's truth? How about just taking them through the book, showing them where you're getting your truth from, showing them how that Abba Yah is consistent in the word. Prophet, prophetess. You can't do it because you weren't called to do it. You're not Elohim's prophet or prophetess. Because they want to use that prophetess word. Can Abba Yah speak through his daughters? You better believe he can. But all this spookiness, and making people to be, and they got their little turbans on their head, and their little scarves on their head, or scarves around their head, and looking like they come straight out of one of those like they came right out of that 1975 movie, I think, The Exodus, 1972, whatever that was. Looking like, what's her name? Megan. Head turning around. Spewing out green vomit. That crap scared the crap out of me as a little boy. But they're the equivalent of that. If you remember that movie, that little demon was talking right through her. The demon's talking right through them. But there's other ways to validate this, brothers and sisters. And I use the female, but I'm talking, when I'm talking about this is holistic. If they're saying Abba Yah is saying, called them to teach our people, or gave them a word for our, not teach, but gave us a word, gave them a word for our people, then look, there's a standard for which they are to be judged. Here is that standard. Watch this. I'm going to go back up. I'm reading from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18. Forget what I told you the subject was. Man plans, Abba Yah laughs at his plan. So we own what we own. This is what he wanted me to talk about. Praise Yah. The other thing, we'll get back to that some other time, Yah willing. This is the message that you're hearing. But we've talked about Abba Yah sent me in this direction. This is where we are. There's some folk out there who are still struggling on trying to play both sides to the middle. Hot and cold. You know, like what did Elijah say? How long will you guys be between two opinions? If you're going to serve the gods of this world, or you're going to serve Elohim? Make a decision. And that's what he's saying to our people right now. Make a decision. Many of our brothers and sisters out there, you need to make a decision. Many of you still dabbling in Christianity by another name. Deal with the concept. I don't believe in Christianity. I don't believe in Jesus. But yeah, you're quoting things out of books that were ascribed to Jesus. Make it make sense. You listen to heathens who you know love Jesus. Make it make sense. Let's come on here. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 20. But the prophet which shall presume, and I like this word presume, to be presumptuous. He said, if you're saying Abba Yah gave you word, he's saying you had better know it was Abba Yah talking to you and not some, demon whispering in your ear. Because you just feel like you should have something to say. So you better know who it is talking to you. And this is to the prophets now. So if there are any so-called prophets out there, messengers out there, this is to you. He's saying you better have your shit together. Because if you're lying and saying, I told you, I'm going to punish you for it. Goes on to say, but the prophet which shall presume to speak a word, one single word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of another Elohim, that prophet shall be put to death. In other words, he said, my prophet shouldn't be talking about no damn Jesus, Buddha, Krista, or no other one, Yahushua included. He said, my prophet shouldn't be talking nothing about no other Elohims. What is an Elohim? Anyone that's in a godlike state, a godlike status. Anyone, let me say it again. Anyone that's in a godlike status. They don't have to be Almighty Abba Yah. They don't have to be Almighty Yahuwah. They just have to be in a godlike status where you pray to them, or they can save you, or you hear from them, or you talk to. Is that clear enough now, brothers and sisters, for us? For any of you who may have had just a little inkling of uncertainty, is that clear enough now? It has to be. Otherwise, you're going to be damned. And then he goes on to say here, verse 21, and if you say in your heart, how shall we know the word of Yahuwah has not spoken? He says, when a prophet speaks in the name of Yahuwah, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which Yahuwah has not spoken, but the prophet has spoken it presumptuously, you shall not be afraid of their prophecies. He said, just blow them off. If they can't show you through the word, if they can't take you through the book, he said, just blow it off. Just blow it off. Don't listen to them, is what he's saying. But I'm going to deal with them. You have the lying prophet. Abba Yah is going to destroy them. And so all of these messengers out here, again, I'm talking about the ones who trying to lead us away from the truth. Those who are now in the church is saying Abba Yah wants everybody. It's all inclusive, whosoever will. He's embracing, the transgender movement, and he's embracing the homosexual movement, and he's embracing, the pro-choice movement. Lying, demon, wicked demon devils. Because it's not in the book. It does not line up with scripture. It does not line up with the Torah. It does not, scripture is Tanakh. It does not line up with the Tanakh. It does not line up with Torah. It does not align with the prophet. As a matter of fact, anyone who has done those things, passing their children through the fire, giving up their children for sacrifice because it's, for whatever reason, it's inconvenient for them outside of reasons that are guided by Abba Yah. He says, any of those individuals he's gone, they have a debt warrant for them. Abba Yah has a debt warrant on their heads. There's a price on their heads. Don't follow them, brothers and sisters. Don't listen to what they're saying. There's one out there called the Master's Voice. If that woman is not loony, kooky, then, Bugs Bunny wasn't a cartoon character. If she's not loony and kooky, Bugs Bunny didn't like carrots. But there are thousands of people over there listening to her. The other idiot over there in the United Kingdom, saying all kind of just ridiculous, silly stuff. And y'all know what I'm talking about. And I bring them out because thousands, 100,000 people subscribed over there. And what is this idiot talking about? Kyrie is Moses and Kanye is Joshua or Joshua. Wait, Kanye is Moses and Kyrie is Joshua. Now Kanye and Kyrie done gone back off to serve their gods who they always served. And what is this idiot over here? You think she came back and cleared it up? Oh no, just moving right along. Moving right along. Abba Yah said, if a messenger says something to you, brothers and sisters, and that what he said or she said did not come to pass, that is not his messengers. And that's why any messenger from Elohim, Abba Yah is not going to give me a message, for example, to bring to my brothers and sisters. And I can't show you in the book how it lines up with that message. And I'm not talking about one place. I'm talking about precepts all over the place. And it's a continuum. And there's evidence of it. Hard, concrete evidence. Not temporary situations. And they're like, oh. No, it's no no oops in Abba Yah. It's yay and nay. Yes and no. He said it or he didn't say it. If he said it, he's going to bring it to pass. Oh, that's Torah too. Where? Okay, and then we're done. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 23. You see, your brother I don't have an ego. I just have a heart to serve. So for me, I'll go back to the word over and over. Brother, you talk, I'll teach it 1,000 times. That's what Abba Yah tell me to do. Who is it about? Me or him? Okay, that's the answer then. There lies your answer. It's not about me, it's about him. So I'll go 1,000 times. He tell me to go 1,000 times to the same scripture. Numbers 23:19. Elohim, Yahuwah, is not a man that he should lie. You just read that over in Deuteronomy. I just read that to you. These prophets prophesying lies. Nor the son of Adam that he should repent. Meaning he was not born of no woman. That's the whole thing with Mary, Joseph, and somehow or another, your Elohim has a father. Craziness. He has he said it, and he shall not do it, as I just read out of Deuteronomy. Has he spoken it, and he shall not make it good? Behold, I have received commandment to bless, and he has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. So whatever Abba Yah says, it is going to stand up, and it's going to pass the test of rebuke. It's going to pass the test of examination. It's going to pass the test of question. It's going to pass the test of reassessing over and over. It's always going to come out like gold that's being refined in fire. That's why we know it's Abba Yah's words and not men. Brothers and sisters, time is winding up. And all Abba Yah is saying, I love Israel. I love Israel. Israel, Israel, Israel. But just like he said over in the book of Exodus, we read that a moment ago. But he said, but Israel does not love me back. Not all of us. And what a shame. What a shame. What a loss. What a loss. So in conclusion, I just want to say to my brothers and sisters, a lot of stuff going on. I know we started early. Go back and look at those channels. Those are very interesting debates. I'm talking about from the Channel Global Television Network. It's very interesting stuff. If you have some time, I would give time to that. I'm telling you, it's good listening. It's just talking about global stuff. It's really letting you know how these nations are about to start going in on each other. That's what it's really about. It's going to let you see why America has no choice but to have, what they call the third war. They don't have an option in it. They don't have nothing to negotiate unless they go back and, and re-enslave us. And, each one of you worth, if you got melanin and you're over 5 feet tall, you're worth over almost $28 million. I know you may not believe that, but melanated people, yeah, your body full of melanin. I did the math a while back. Your net worth is over almost $28 million. A normal human Israelite. I'm talking about the melanin that's in your body. So you're valuable. You're more valuable than gold. Maybe they'll be trying to barter you. Maybe they'll be putting you back on the auction block. If they have it our way, if they have it their way, that's exactly what they plan to do. And Judah Maccabees was talking about that. Y'all willing, maybe tomorrow, next day, he'll allow me to teach that. I hope. But this was more important. But look at the indicators. Remember how it was in those days. It even says that, Abba Yah sent thunder. Abba Yah sent rain. Abba Yah sent all kind of horrible, signs in the earth. Animals, dying. Insects dying. Waters being troubled. Tsunamis. Twisters. Again, tornadoes. Heat waves. Droughts. Blizzards. Everything he could do to get the people's attention. And you know what he says? They didn't listen. They blew it off. No big deal. And he did it to get out. He did it to get their attention. Just like he's doing all these things now. He's really doing it to get our attention. But just like them, nothing new there. Most of our people are blowing it off. The heathens don't care because they're just trying to survive. Because they know that their end is soon to come and they're going to do whatever they can do to prolong that. Even if that means offering you up as a sacrifice. They did it before. But there's a lot of talk, noise around the world. A lot of, I just call it the war drums. Beating, boom, 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 boom. But then again, if you're over there listening to Lizzo, I guess you can't hear it. Or whomever your distraction might be, or whatever your distraction might be, why you can't hear the drums, including your religions and your gods who are telling you ain't got nothing to worry about. Banks are closing. Big banks. It's an economic tsunami coming, brothers and sisters. Prepare yourself for it. Come out, those of you who can. Invest in your kind. Invest in the leaders among you so that we can be a part of leading us when we get to where we're going. All these things are important. Yah has a priest. He put a priest before us for a reason. He put messengers before us for a reason. Watchmen before us for a reason. Prophets before us for a reason. Elders before us for a reason. But they have to be his appointed, not self-appointed or religion appointed. Theology school appointed. Theology school appointed. Daddy school, mama school, wife of pastor school, or wife of pastor relationship appointed. No, they have to be appointed by Abba Yah. And if you're Abba Yah's fruit, 1/3, you will know them when you see them. You will know who they are. You will know it. If you're his, you'll know. You'll know. If you belong to him, you'll know the leaders he set for you. You will know who they are. And you'll know it. It'll resonate inside of you. It'll make you want more. It'll make you want to know more. It's going to make you want to cry out and tell everybody, come out while you still have a chance. Those voices, those elders, those watchmen and women. But there's not much time left. So it's time to get yourself together. Now. Again, brothers and sisters, invited during our Bible studies, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Central Time, Eastern Time. Remember, wherever you are, you're going to have to adjust your time to it. Unless you're on the Eastern Time Zone, you got to adjust your time based off of what time zone you're in. But 7 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday nights, 516-597-9598. That's all it takes. 45 minutes, and you will be a part of a group that's studying Tanakh, Torah, and Apocryphal book. And most time, all in a 45-minute study, we touch somewhere in all three of those platforms. Texts. Not platform, but text. So, come sit in. You don't have to announce yourself. You don't even have to let us know you're there. Just listen. It's all required. And if you're not getting it from somewhere else, why wouldn't you come? And then last but not least, again, for all of my brothers and sisters who have been supportive, financially, I just want you to know, it doesn't matter how small or how big, big helps, but small is appreciated. But I just want to say, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has a part in what you're hearing, has a part in what you're seeing. Okay? So thank you, and thank you. And I pray that Abba Yah continue to bless you so that you can be a blessing. That's it, brothers and sisters. Till next time, or maybe tomorrow night. Talk to you then. DFG, Shalom.